Welcome to the Place Changemakers podcast series, brought to you by Sport England and our Place partners. In this series, we dive into the world of place-based approaches to tackle physical inactivity. Join us as we explore the skills, mindsets and behaviours, all crucial for driving change across local systems. Discover practical examples, challenges faced, and the transformative experiences of those at the heart of this work. Tune in for insights and inspiration for your own journey towards positive change. You can also watch these episodes and access the transcripts by visiting www.sportengland.org/place partnerships.
Hello and welcome to the Place Changemakers podcast. I'm Kath Lord Green, your host. Episode 2, Empowerment, Building Capacity, Community and Leadership. Today, we take a deep dive into capacity building within communities, focusing on leadership development and community empowerment. We hear real stories and methods that drive successful systemic change. Our guests today are Libby and Samir, and I'll let them introduce themselves and their roles.
Hi, my name, as you say, is Samir Vaid. I'm part of a social movement called Let's Go Southall in Southall. It's one of the 12 local delivery place partnerships that Sport England has invested in. Southall is one of 7 major towns in Ealing and was recognised as having high prevalence of long-term health issues and low levels of activity. It's a very diverse town with people from different cultures and different backgrounds, different faiths. It's a small but vibrant place. Having grown up here, I have seen real change both in terms of population and infrastructure. My job title within the campaign is Cycle Lead. It's not a role that you would find on a drop-down menu, but I think it was put into place specifically for the job, the nature of the work that I do, which is to get as many people cycling as we can in and around Southall, covering a range of demographics, and in the process, obviously, encouraging active travel. The team provides training for those that do not know how to ride, and offering club opportunities that can. My qualification and first occupational steps were in IT, assisting with IT development in social services. I worked directly with service users, and I suppose that's where my listening experience first came in. I met some interesting people with a wealth of history and lots of life experiences. My interest in people engagement outweighed that of IT. So what was an initial short 3-term contract became 10 years of working with people with physical disabilities and sensory impairments. I then had the opportunity to move on to sports development within my local authority. Working with a great team, my remit was to deliver and facilitate leisure activities in Southall. I did this for a good few years, really enjoyed the work. Again, coming across a lot of interesting people out in the community. After which, I moved on to freelance, but this time working with voluntary and community-based groups, borough-wide, including Southall. So in terms of actually joining the movement, I suppose I was well equipped, having had the experience in all the different areas that we need within the campaign. And just, I suppose I came into the movement by chance as the actual process of the movement. I came at the early stages and I really just, I was at the forefront of actually getting things going. It was a learning process for myself. And I suppose we're still learning. So it's been a good experience to date.
Hi, everybody. I'm Libby. I'm a project development officer for the Get Set Leeds local project based in Leeds. So our project is part of Leeds City Council and the Active Leeds team. and part of our Active Leads team, we focus on different areas of work, but in particular, this project, we focus on priority areas. So the project is very much about supporting the local community, working in a place-based way and using a co-productive way of working. So it's about very much working with people rather than doing it to people, and celebrating different ways that we can move. So we move in so many different ways. And also the project helps people in communities build those really strong, meaningful connections. Myself is a little bit different to your journey. So you might pick up on the accent. I'm not originally from Leeds, so originally from Birmingham, clinging onto my accent after 12 years of living up here. I think one thing that's been very consistent is sport and physical activity has been a very main driver in my life, and for personal reasons. But I've always been involved in physical activity throughout my career, but in loads of different ways. So I originally moved up to Leeds to study at university and went travelling a little bit and ended up coming back, and I've stayed. I have worked with a range of different people. So I worked in a alternative provision, working with young people who were excluded from mainstream school. This was, with my experience with sport, it was very much about using physical activity as that really key positive thing for them to be able to express, being able to support their mental health and their physical health. Leading on from this, I worked with the Ministry of Defence around adapted sports and doing research around the psychological impact of the programme. And then I joined Active Leads. So that was around 8 years ago. As part of Active Leads, I've been involved in a couple of projects. So originally I was involved in our Children and Young People's project. And then I went on to a Women and Girls project. So Leeds Girls Camp, which is also funded by Sports England. And then went on to the Get Set Leeds local project. So I think that although my journey's always been in sport, it's been very much about working with different types of people. And I think that's definitely my main passion, is working with people and using physical activity as that real positive thing, because I know that it might make such a positive change in my life. So it's just about celebrating that and how we do it really differently, and supporting people to have the opportunities to do that.
What does success look like to you?
I think that success looks really different at different levels of the scale. So, success on a community level compared to that kind of whole system on our project. So, for example, at a community level, as mentioned, we work in different priority areas. I'd say every area success looks very different. It's not just from area to area. It's, from street to street. Every area is so unique. It can be, I think the main thing for success is local people leading the change that they want to see. And it's not just about us parachuting in and doing two, as I mentioned before. It's about them having the confidence to be able to step forward and say, this is a change that we want to see in our community, and this is the best way to go about it. And I think for that to happen, it's about us being able to hold a safe space for people's voices to really be listened to and really be heard. And when you hold that space for people to feel confident and comfortable to say, some people might not have ever even thought about being active. So to even, have those open conversations, not necessarily even about physical activity, it's just about building those connections with the community. And then for people to then start to think about being active is a level of success as well. But then actually stepping forward and saying, I've thought about roller skating. I've not done it in 20 years. And I used to love it when I was younger. And how can we go about doing this? And having the confidence to do that, and then actually saying, right, this is how we're going to do it. I think that's a huge success at a community level. And I think that from that approach, it's very much about building that capacity and it being community-led. So we know that when you go into a community and you do a 2-week program, a 4-week program, and then leave, it's not sustainable. Whereas if you do have those people from the community taking charge, taking ownership, that's their thing, their pride and joy, and they can take others on that journey, and then it becomes sustainable. And that is so successful if we can have something in a local community led by local people and it's sustainable. and it can impact so many different people. So definitely success at that community level. And then I'd also say success kind of at that whole systems is taking other people on the journey. So very much sharing the learning of our approach. So how I mentioned at the start around our co-productive approach, that it is very much about working with people, not doing it in a really authentic way as well, not just labeling it as co-production and saying this is what we're going to do and wanting quick results. It's about really going at the pace of the community. So listening to what they want, taking time to listen, but also when these projects are happening, for our project to be able to feed that learning into other areas of the system to influence this way of working. And we find that sometimes that people across the system have a perception of what physical activity is, and it's not necessarily, sometimes it's a little bit tunnel vision of to be active, you go running, to be active, you go to the gym, you've got to be a certain type of person to be active, whereas, being active can be gardening, being active can be cleaning, being active can be walking, roller skating. So I think that success as well is taking those wider partners on the journey to take on the way of working with and local people changing the things that they want to see, but also the fact that we can start to influence people's perception of what physical activity actually is.
I can certainly relate to that. I think that's definitely one thing that we have in common. I suppose if you were to ask 10 different people what success is, you'd have 10 different answers. From a social movement point of view, success for us is people that have become healthier and sustained health, it's longer term. And for people that can manage their own health. So this is success that we do see. I mean, an example I'd like to use is that I used to teach exercise in the community some years ago. And those people now actually teach within the campaign. And again, people they teach are actually teaching others. So if we were to step away, I can see that continuing. And that's one example. Again, it's with cycling. We have groups of people that ride their bikes and they go out independently. So that is success already that we're beginning to see. But in terms of systems level, again, that's something that, where the systems are working with the campaign, we have processes in place and community-based organizations where you amalgamate, you sit down, you draw up plans together. I see that as a success. But I think at the end of the day, as long as we have people that are fit and healthy and enjoying good well-being, that sort of sums up success for us.
I totally agree, Samir, when you said about working together. So very much about people working collaboratively. And it's that strength-based approach of, it's not just one person who can, resolve different complex challenges that these communities face. It's about people pulling together. And there's so many amazing strengths within different partners, local residents. And I think that when people really do work in a really authentic way of collaboration is a huge success. And then, like you say, it is about people moving more. And I think that, people moving in different ways, but also being able to shout about it themselves. I think that's true success when people from the community are going, we're involved in this. And I'm sure you have that in your projects that, like you mentioned, that there's people who have participated and then they've gone on to do training and lead that. And it is that thing of like they're proud, they're empowered and inspired to kind of make that change and take that next step within the journey and go on to that ripple effect of they've participated in something, but then they've maybe taken on training to then take the lead in that activity and then inspire others within their local community.
Yeah, it is about changing mindsets, not just with individuals, but also community organizations, perhaps changing the way people have been working and see how we can encompass them in the actual movement. We have really good partners that are actually involved in this process. So I think the good thing is that for any new organizations that come into Southall, we're already there. We've got the organizations that are currently assisting us. So that change has taken place. We know it won't be any of the old systems that were used. It's a new process that people are working to. So that change is a long-term change, and we can see physical change happening throughout Southall on a regular basis.
What behaviours and skills are important when working with the community?
I think foremost is listening. I think you've got to be a good listener to really understand, first of all, what's going on, to understand people's life experiences. And also, really, because Southall is so diverse, an understanding of what makes Southall what it is, and the different faith groups, the different cultures, not necessarily knowing everything, but having an idea of maybe a particular area or just a general idea of Southall as a whole. Because we're a team, we work together, and everyone has different skills that they share that contribute towards working in Southall. So we're about development, people development. So I wouldn't say it's a set skill set that you need to work in Southall, because it's different areas, and it's something that we cascade throughout the teams. So people are learning new things all the time. From a personal point of view, yes, I think in terms of coordinating, planning, these are type of skills that you do need. And we do share a lot of these skills with our organizers, with people that are getting active with us. And it's also really, it creates an opportunity for people that are actually in that process, not just because of physical activity, but also in terms of personal development and also opportunities for employment as well.
Definitely. I definitely agree with lots of the stuff that you've just said. And I think that, like you say, it's not necessarily just one set skill. I think that especially for our team, we all bring such different skills and attributes. And, you know, we've got people who from the community who really connect with us. And I think that for me personally is one of the key things is around the ability to build really strong and meaningful relationships with people. So Samir, when you spoke about actually listening and taking that time to genuinely listen to people, I think that's really, really key. I think that being empathetic, because, you know, the communities that we are working in can face really complex challenges. You know, they can face barriers to not just being active. So, for example, we've got one of the key barriers that is coming out within our work is access to kits to be able to participate in the activity. So not just being able to not actually physically get there, or, you know, the costs of activities or childcare. It's like when people get there, they actually don't even have access to a pair of trainers or raincoats and these different things. And I think that it is being that person who can take that time to listen to the barriers that people are facing, be empathetic about that, but also be very solution focused and positive. And, you know, not, as we know from this nature of this work, it's not plain sailing. You know, we're going to be hit with challenges, but if you've got that positive mindset of, you know, solutions and working together, I think that can kind of radiate and inspire other people as well. And another thing, I know I've used the word a couple of times, but very much being authentic. I think that if you are who you are, it opens up those doors to build genuine relationships. And I think that if people can see that we are genuine, it kind of drops down that guard. You know, for example, some of our team, we've got groups that roller skate, that play basketball, that go running, and we all get involved. You know, we'll turn up on, my colleague goes on a Sunday morning to the run club. There's Thursday nights playing basketball, and we've all been there. We've all got involved. I've been roller skating and spent most of the time on the floor. It's also showing that, you know, we're not necessarily experts, and it's just being real. So I think that that's a really key thing, is just being very real, taking that time to genuinely listen and be empathetic about the challenges that people do face. And I think that by doing that, it goes into that, what we've just discussed around success. People feel very valued when you do that and actually listen to. And that's key to kind of that ripple effects of the confidence of, building that capacity at a local community level.
As you mentioned, Libby, I mean, on Sunday, you have activities that go on. So the campaign isn't a 9 to 5. You have to have the flexibility. We have people that do activities in the evenings, on weekends, when people are available. We know there's lots of obstacles to activity. It might be working hours or parents looking after children and so forth. So people on the campaign, they do need to be flexible in their approach. And a very large percentage of people that are actually on the campaign are from Southall. So from a personal point of view, when we're delivering sessions, I know that I can put a message in the WhatsApp group. If we're short on staff, I can say, is anyone available to cover? And within minutes, we'll have a response. We might even have someone at the door saying, hey, I can help you. So it's good that people have that local knowledge. And as Libby says, an understanding, empathy towards people. I think that's what's key for us as well.
What practical tools or techniques have you or your organisation used to support community engagement? Or are there others you're aware of as well in other places that you've adopted, or other places have adopted from you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few that our project use. So as mentioned, we use a co-productive approach. So we have a co-production toolkit. It's very much a guidance for our team. So as I've mentioned, we bring such unique skills and personalities to the role. But by having our co-production toolkit, it's very much that guidance to just kind of remember that way of working of, it is about people leading that change, about working with. And a really great example of what we do on the project is our community panel. So we hold a community panel, which is just a touch point for people from the community, whether it's residents or local partners, to come together. So we've held them online, we've done face-to-face as well. And we do adapt to the times to suit people's needs because, like you said, it's not a 9 till 5 thing, is it? We have these meetings on evenings and, whenever kind of works for people. But that approach of the community panel it's a great space for people to share resources, share ideas. And, it's a great opportunity for us as well to learn from what's happening in the community and for them to guide our project. So it's not just about us leading that change, it's about us learning and that kind of continuous discovery throughout the project. And one great example that's come out of the community panel is we were really keen that we had all this learning, this amazing, rich learning from all these incredible, unique projects. And we do share that learning far and wide, and we'll do it through presentations and reports through our research partner. But we wanted to do something that was really creative and that can resonate with people on the ground as well. So from the community panel, this was something that was coming through as an idea. And it's basically been the driving force of the development of our online toolkit, which is currently being made. So although I can probably reference where it will be, it might be a couple of months until it is finalised. So the toolkit essentially is online, and it's a really engaging toolkit where people can click through and see different community projects and different approaches and really small snippets of what worked for them. But it's filled with videos and photos and blogs. But from this community panel, it was even the language that was used and the wording that was used has designed this toolkit. So that is definitely one tool that has come out from different ways of working. And then I'd say that another main thing that we do for our project is social proofing. So with our social proofing, it is very much about how, Samir, you were speaking about people who locally run these projects. For us, it's about showing people like us being active. So, if you can see it, you can be it. And it's about kind of showcasing that. So we social proof in loads of different ways. So we have a local newsletter that we put into. We also work creating these social short videos with our marketing partner. So they go down to the project to capture these incredible videos, which can all be seen on our YouTube channel. And that's very much around, like I said, showing people from the local community being active. And if someone watches that video and goes, actually, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. And it's just about that inspiring people, but also it's breaking down those stereotypes, because, people are guilty of thinking, you have to look a certain way to be a runner, or you have to look a certain way to do this. And it is about breaking down those stereotypes and showing, different ages, different abilities, different ethnicities taking part in a wide range of activities. And I think that, if there's someone from their local community that they even recognise and they're like, wow, maybe I can do that. So I'd say that social proofing is definitely one of the tools as well that we do, what helps build relationships with the community, but also has that wider ripple effect of inspiring others to be active, and also us being able to share with wider partners as well, because when people watch a video, it's a lot more impactful than just putting it in a report or talking about it.
We use social media to quite a big extent. A lot of the activities that we do, a lot of the work we do, not just from comms, but individuals that are actually in the campaign. So they'll put posts on Facebook, on other medium, to really get the message out on what we do. But the structure of our campaign in itself is actually a good tool to get out into the community. So just to shed a bit of light, we use WhatsApp groups. We have the campaign divided into teams. So we've got, for example, a team that focuses on men. We've got ladies teams, a team for older adults. So we have 5 teams in total that comprise of organizers who facilitate activities with the teams, but everyone's connected through WhatsApp. So we have a lot of WhatsApp messages. And those messages are cascaded on quite a large scale. So whenever there is an event or whether there's engagement, we put a message out and you'll see the response just out there. So that's our main tool. We work according to like Harvard modules that we have. So in terms of development tactics that we have, the organizers have been on this Harvard program that we've used to help us develop and have systems in place. So that's has 8 modules in total. I can't tell you too much about it because we did it a few years ago. I know that some of the new people have actually gone over it, but it's kind of slipped my mind at the moment. But a lot of the stuff we also do is co-design based. So when we, for example, we have outdoor gyms, we've engaged with people to design the gyms, and we have a colleague who is in a wheelchair. He had a good influence in one of the designs. So the equipment is designed for people with wheelchairs. And also there's a screen within the park. And there's a slightly chubbier version of me delivering an exercise session there. And that was done 3 years ago. So a lot of the stuff we do are actually done by local people. And when you get the public seeing this, then that in itself is a tool which engages with the people that we're reaching out to.
I think that Samir mentioned around kind of the theoretical stuff, and although it kind of influences massively how we do work, that how we kind of do that on the ground, it's very different, isn't it, when we speak about it actually happening in the community. We also, I know that I mentioned about the co-productive toolkit that we have. Working with our research partner, Leeds Beckett, we have our influencer framework, which is a really great tool for us because it sometimes allows us to kind of step back and think about the way that we are working. So, part of the work is about working with the community and influencing that change within people, but also part is about how do we kind of influence that environment to be more active, because we know that a lot of the communities may not have the right setup within their environment to be active. So that's a really, really great way, but definitely about still working with those people and how can we influence that motivation and confidence. So I think that by having a tool like that, again, it just allows us to take that step back, refer back and go, okay, this wider lens, because sometimes we can, get our heads down, get excited by something and then go off with that. So that's a really great tool. And we also have, when we speak about working with people, we have our community chest part, which is a brilliant tool. So it's something that we offer to local residents or local partners. And it's a really small pot of funding that is really easily applied for. It's like a simple one-pager. And it's basically to support local good ideas. So it's allowed so many people from different aspects of life to come forward and say, you know, I fancy doing this, or we are already doing something, but we need that little bit of extra support to, you know, purchase some equipment or, you know, to pay for a space. And although that within itself isn't sustainable, as in like, you know, a small amount of money, but it helps us build that connection, be able to build that relationship, and then listen and provide that further support. And, you know, from the community chest part, we've got a brilliant example of a lady in South Leeds stepped forward and said, it was after COVID, said a lot of women in our area are feeling really isolated and they'd like to take part in basketball, and it's something that they've not done since school. So my colleague worked with this lady to kind of connect with a local partner who specialised in basketball. We connected with the local park and also the local school, because we know that the weather's not brilliant in this country all the time. So finding an indoor space was essential. And off the back of that, 18 months, 2 years down the line, this project is thriving. It's run by these women that have got a real focus on a social aspect of sport. They're not there to, you know, train hard, get technically, like, you know, shooting hoops at such a technical level. It's just about coming together, connecting with others. But that's just happened from a community chest pot fund. And 2 years down the line, we've got this really sustainable, impactful program. And then from the back of that, we've got, these are mums that are attending and they've brought their children along. And last year we had 2 of the sons from participants who approached us and said, well, our mums have done this. Is this something that we can do? And they wanted to set up an opportunity for young people in their area to take part in basketball. And again, it's that thing when we spoke about, you know, if you see others do it, they watch their mums do this. They've been part of that, felt confident enough, but we also had that tool in place to say, yeah, we can absolutely help do this. You know, it's a simple thing of, we've done it with young people where we've sat down with them and they've designed everything, and we've been able to apply this funding to make it happen. So it's a really flexible tool. And all, like I've mentioned, it's not a huge amount of money, but by having that, it really helps with all the points that we've spoken about, from, you know, this great community engagement of relationship building, looking for opportunities and sustainability.
We've got something similar to that. Again, where we were approached by a lady who wanted to set up dance sessions in the community. It's a traditional sort of North Indian dance group, which you don't find generally. So it's social and it's dancing. And that was something that was set up, and it's had huge appeal. There was a need for it, which no one else actually sort of identified, and she set this up, and it's really running well. And I think she's moved on to another session as well. So yeah, it's definitely a very effective tool we have as well. And the other thing I just want to add to that is that Zoom is quite a good tool for us. So when we have Zoom meetings, we've had parents with people in the background, family in the background, seeing what the parents are doing. And just through that process, whether it's a meeting or doing an online session, they've had the interest and they've actually signed on to the campaign. And quite a few people have actually become active that way as well.
Lots going on there. What has been your learning? What would you do differently? And what are you still learning?
I'm learning all the time. There's so much happening from the start of the campaign to where we are now, that learning just doesn't stop. When I first joined the campaign, I thought I was well equipped to deliver, to be part of the campaign. And I saw myself leading so many activities, but I had to change my mindset because that's not what the campaign was about. So I am learning all the time, learning from people that are experienced within the campaign and just the community as a whole. I think it's helped us having a sort of phase process. So we have like 4 to 6 month phases where we learn, review the content, and then make changes. I suppose what we have really learned is not to rush, but to take things step at a time. You can't have everything together. It's just chaos. So yeah, I would say, just to sum that up, really just step by step, review what you've done, and then plan ahead. What are your thoughts on that, Libby?
I definitely agree with the time. You know, it is very much about not rushing, going at the pace of the community. And sometimes people already know what they want to do and how they want to be active. But for some people, you know, they're not even on the radar about being active. So it is about taking that real time, not pushing through things, and also acknowledging that you could have projects that feel like they're just about to kind of kick off, and then something happens, because that's life, and we all know that that's life. And I think that it's not feeling disheartened by that and being okay with kind of taking that step back and waiting for when is right for that person or those partners and that group, but remaining positive that, you know, we are here when you need us to be here. So very much about going at the pace of the community. I think that there's so much learning. And with this question, as you've asked it, I thought, I can't even think about how much, just from my personal journey of being involved in physical activity, this project is so unique in its approach. And like I say, how we work and how we take that time to build those true relationships with people in the community, and, you know, people actually leading that change. I think that there's so much learning behind that, but also the project, it is continuous discovery. So as a project team, we are always coming together, reflecting on, you know, community projects or different parts of work, what worked well, what was our approach, what could we do differently. So we are always discovering these new things from people, from the communities, you know, from different encounters I've had over the weeks, like learning different things that I genuinely thought. I think that sometimes we can assume that we know stuff, and actually listening to, for example, the barriers that people face. So, you know, it could be even, we know, cost of living crisis at the moment and barriers that people face, but actually by holding a community event, putting on some food, providing some kit, holding that safe space for people to talk, people start to open up more. I've recently been doing a project working with young people around the barriers that they face in taking part in PE in their local school and in their local community. And some of the things I was like, oh, wow, I'd never even thought about that. So it is about listening and, like you say, acknowledging that we are always learning and how valuable those conversations are. Like, every day is a school day, isn't it? It's just about having those conversations. What can we learn from people's experiences? But also that kind of continuous discovery within the wider project of holding our hands up and going, you know, this is our approach. We've learned a lot, but we can definitely learn a lot more from people on the ground. And yeah, I think that what is left to learn as well, I think that, who knows, probably still loads to go. But yeah, I think that there's been a lot that has been learned, a lot more still to learn. And I think we definitely embrace that. And we just love sharing that learning as well. So it's not about keeping that learning to ourselves. It is about sharing it with Sport England, with Yorkshire Sport Foundation, with local residents, local partners. And it is just kind of going, this worked really well. This was a challenge. And yeah, I think that it's about just celebrating that.
With regards to the campaign, it's whenever I tell someone what I do, I have to explain the campaign as a whole. I mean, I do cycle lead. That in itself doesn't say much, but what it actually entails and painting the whole picture for people is actually good in terms of spreading the experience of the campaign, and that this is change that we're bringing in. So I suppose it does help just saying I'm cycle lead and then say, oh, what does that entail? With regards to would I change anything? I think that was one of the points that was brought up. Maybe just a few things, changes, experiences in how we've engaged with communities. Could we have done it better? Should we have done that first? Should we have done this first? So there are things that we could perhaps do, and it has been a learning process. But then having said that, would that work better than what we've done? We don't know. It's evolving all the time. I think just to go with the flow, enjoy the moment, and enjoy the fruits of the campaign.
Is there anything else you think you wanted to add there?
I was just going to agree with Samir around, that constant change for our project. We've been going since 2019 and we've just entered a new phase of going into a new area, which is really exciting. So we've now got that opportunity to take all our learning from what we've done over the last few years, the last 5 years, and take that into a new area and reflect on, does this kind of differ? The fact that we're not kickstarting during COVID times, does it differ? Again, like I said, every place is so different. So definitely from that continuous learning that we are going into this new, really exciting phase of bringing this great approach into a new area.
And I think that's key, that we are going through phases. It's not repeating the same thing again and again. We are learning and we are changing. And that's why the phases are put into place for us.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Place Changemakers podcast series. Remember though, conversation doesn't have to end here. Check out our other episodes and take a look at our online resources by visiting www.sportengland.org/place partnerships. Why don't you come and join our community of learning, where we'll keep you connected to the latest thinking and learning being surfaced by Places. So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.